waiting to arise.
Every day we strive, chasing our dreams, learning to embrace what tomorrow brings.
Like those little shining stars, together we can glow, reaching everyone around our lives. Let's shine our light.
So we sing and we dance, lend a hand in every chance, bringing love in a joyous harmony. Now we know that this life is a journey to reach our destiny, starting at Sinarmas World Academy.
Taking every mile, making every choice, knowing it will shape the sounding of our voice. Like a tree inside a seed, one day it will grow, for our future lies within our souls. Let's shine our light.
So we sing and we dance, lend a hand in every chance, bringing love in a joyous harmony. Now we know that this life is a journey to reach our destiny, starting at Sinarmas World Academy. There's a golden light deep within our hearts, shining pure and bright, waiting to arise. Every day we strive, chasing our dreams, learning to embrace what tomorrow brings. Like those little shining stars, together we can grow, reaching everyone around our lives. Let's shine our light. So we sing and we dance, lend a hand in every chance, bringing love in a joyous harmony. Now we know that this life is a journey to reach our destiny, starting at Sinarmas World Academy.
Taking every
Welcome to our home. The home of learning and achievement.
The home of friendship.
The home of creativity and innovation.
The home of culture.
The home of compassion.
We are the future, and this is our home.
Welcome to our home. The home of learning and achievement.
The home of friendship.
The home of creativity and innovation.
The home of culture.
The home of compassion.
We are the future, and this is our home.
There's a golden light deep within our hearts, shining pure and bright, waiting to arise. Every day we strive, chasing our dreams, learning to embrace what tomorrow brings. Like those little shining stars, together we can grow, reaching everyone around our lives. Let's shine our light. So we sing and we dance, lend a hand in every chance, bringing love in a joyous harmony. Now we know that this life is a journey to reach our destiny. Starting at Sinarmas Word Academy.
Welcome to our home. The home of learning and achievement.
The home of friendship.
The home of creativity and innovation.
The home of culture.
The home of compassion.
We are the future, and this is our home.
Hello and welcome to a Sinarmas World Academy webinar, Surviving COVID-19, Business Innovations and Economic Optimism. We're live on Zoom and streaming on YouTube, so thank you to all the participants who have joined us and who will be following our discussion. We look forward to hear from you and hopefully to be able to answer your questions a bit later on. Tonight, as our guest speaker, we're honored to have Dr. Peter Jacobs, Executive Director of Bank Indonesia, Department Head of Banking Services, Licensing, and Treasury Operations. Dr. Peter Jacobs has been with the central bank as a monetary regulator for about 30 years and is also a law graduate from the University of Indonesia. He then earned his master's degree in policy science from Saitama University and earned his doctorate from Universitas Pajajaran. Good evening, Dr. Jacobs. How are you? We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. Hi, Elma.
This webinar has been met with such great interest. We've had an enthusiastic response. We're all now living in extraordinary circumstances, faced with unprecedented situations and a lot of times inundated with information, sometimes conflicting ones, right? So we aim to look for reasons to still be optimistic in these challenging times. So our objective this evening is to share some thoughts to help us make sense of the issues within the realm of economics. And as we're entering a new era with this pandemic, we want to also talk about what we can do, what we can prepare, what organizations can do in adapting in these exceptional times. So I think without further ado, I would like to give the time and attention to our speaker, Dr. Jacobs, who will commence his talk. Silakan, Pak Peter.
Thank you so much, Ms. Elma, for the very generous introduction. I am so honored to be here. And I really want to use this opportunity to share some of the information of the economy, especially related to the COVID-19. But as well, I also want to share with you the things that we all as Indonesian or people living in Indonesia need to know and need to do something regarding this unprecedented situation in Indonesia, especially because of the COVID-19. And I'm so thrilled to be here and also share with you. And after the talks, I'll be very happy to answer questions if I can answer, of course, and surely have a discussion. Also, if possible, you could also share some thoughts or inputs or anything that can help the government, can help the Bank Indonesia to do better in our economy, especially in times of difficulties like this. So let me share the informations, and I'm opening my slides now. Hopefully you can see clearly the slides. And okay.
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 Looks good. Pak Peter.
Yeah. Shall I proceed then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, first of all, I need to thank the Sinarmas World Academy for giving me this opportunity. I might say that an opportunity to share with you the information, to share with you the thought, and also the passion about what is happening now is really important for me, and I really want to do something to help the situation, and I'm sure all of you are entitled to do something to help the country, and feel that the optimism is there because we and Indonesians are an optimism people, and I'm sure we can also do something to find some innovative and creative things just like other advanced countries, and I'm sure this will help the countries to move on then. Okay, when we talk about economy, when we talk about the prospect of our economy in the future, people might ask a lot of questions, and people might also project the economy with various, results. I can show you later in my slides. But if you then relate this economic situation with COVID, then we come to an area that uncertainty is there. I am saying that this uncertainty is there because nobody actually knows what happened after this. When will the COVID-19 will pass? I can say that people will try to predict, but then up until now the vaccine is still in progress. Some say that this is also certain that even Indonesian ministers has said that early next year they are ready to to produce like 40 million doses of vaccine to cope with this COVID-19 disease. But we'll never know. We need to see the impact, which is really positive to Indonesian people, because otherwise we are now living in a very frightening situations. Some people are afraid to go out. Some people are, they have no options but just go outside and then, infected, things like that. It's really a situation where you cannot really predict anything. But I'm sure now we can do something about it. We cannot just sit still at your home doing nothing, but we can do something, and we can also help the country, help the governments to do something to make the economy is better. Let me start with some information, especially informations about the COVID-19. I got some slides from Bank Indonesia. I got some slides from Minister of Finance, and I got also some slides from many other sources. But then I tried to share with you, to tell you a story about what I have in mind related with this COVID-19, especially with the economy. Are we going to have an optimism with this? Are we going to be able to push people to be innovative or not? And then it all depends on you. And I hope this information given to you can help you to form some positive thought about it. So COVID-19 cases are still on the rise. Even we are seeing also fatality rates have decreased. So if we then see, let me try to. Okay. Okay. See, we have some countries over here which have the highest confirmed cases, and it is still in the uptrend position. We are seeing that overall we cannot say that COVID-19 problems have been over. So we are seeing that fatality rates, we thank God that this is going down. But if we see the second wave, if we see like the US, Brazil, and India contributed to the increase, but the second wave, this is something that we all are afraid of. The second wave in the US is higher than the first wave. You can see it here from uh, the slides here. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing the situation that is not actually telling us that things are getting better. Not about only Indonesia, but this is a problem all over the world, including the US. But I can also want to share with you some countries that have been successful dealing with COVID. But even if we can deal with COVID, even if one country can deal it with COVID like what China did, they cannot live alone. They
Sure.
are depending so much on other countries like Indonesia, like the US, like Japan. Therefore, even if we have a severe situations like COVID, China and the US are still fighting each other. This is really sometimes I feel like ridiculous because we are all having problems, but they're still fighting. And this is really amazed to see things like that. But then the situation is like that. So if I can give you like the global curve, where are we now? According to our Bloomberg information, in May 15, we see Indonesia here, and they are saying that US in the peak. Sorry, this is some in Bahasa Indonesia, but US in the peak in when they do it like projection in May 15. Indonesia is there, uprising, but then on the right hand side there are Singapore, France, Italy, Japan, German, and Korea, and China near the end. So they are on the downtrend slope, where Brazil, India, and Indonesia is still in the uptrend slope. But then if we compare with the data in July 13, 2020, right, maybe a few months after that, we are seeing that the US is still not in the peak. They're still going up. Hopefully, they're seeing that in the near future, US will stop and then reach the peak and then go down. But then we are still seeing these three countries in the uptrend, the trend that is still going up, where other countries are still fighting to keep the rates down. But their problems are not over yet. Their problem is still there. People are still afraid to go out, but some people are starting to go out and do business, and the economic transactions are running, and it's okay for some of them. So these kind of situations have become our our base, our when we talk about the economy. Let's look about Indonesia then. Indonesian COVID, this is the data of yesterday. We have 93,000 confirmed cases, where recovered 50,000, and then that rate like 4,576. And this is the data of yesterday. Some people are saying that the Indonesian rate are higher than China, and they're seeing like China found here in the right hand side, China found 83,000 cases after tested 90 million people in China. While Indonesia has just tested 697,000 people with 1.2 million specimen to find 84,000 cases. So Indonesia has done like 4,389 tests per 1 million population, while China did 62,000 tests per 1 million population. So we actually, if we compare with China, we see that the data is showing that Indonesian people who are infected are in a much higher phase than China here. So this is the situation of Indonesia. We can start feel like, oh, the situation is not good. The COVID is still uprising, but economical wise, we are in a situation where we need to do something because otherwise people will suffer. They are hungry. They don't have money, and it's not good for the country. But then, sorry again, because there's some of slides in Bahasa Indonesia, but I'll try to explain to you the scenario here. The red, color and the green color here. If we have a scenario, this is a very light scenario. The light scenario is saying that up until the third quarter, our situation is still the COVID situation is still negative, where the everything will be in a normal trend in the fourth quarter. So if the scenario is light, then fourth quarter of 2020 will be good for Indonesia, and we're going to have a very uprising trend in 2021. But then if the scenario is then a moderate, we have a moderate situations where we're going to have a kind of a L shape, then maybe the situation is not good up until first quarter 2021. And we might have a positive situation starting second quarter of 2021. And again, I'm telling you that we can never know the real, situation will happen in Indonesia, especially when the scenario is severe. Then maybe 2021 will be a problem because we're still having a low economic growth, and we are still having much more people infected, things like that. So we're seeing the scenario. So what I'm trying to say is that this COVID-19 is giving you, various scenario, and if we can cope with this COVID-19 sooner, then we can have a better economy sooner. So let's see what we can do about it, because Indonesia is we have to still move on. The WHO World Health Organization said that COVID-19 may never go away. They said that. So we're going, like the president once said, that we have to live in peace with them, with the COVID. So we will never have a life without COVID now. Maybe COVID-19 will be like a flu then. We're going, hand in hand with that. But the good news is, I just quoted this from our state-owned enterprise ministers with biopharma company, saying that biopharma has performed clinical test phase 3. This is almost done, and a vaccine will be available early next year. So even in the future, biopharma will be able to produce 100 million doses per year, and then increase to 250 million doses per year. But then early next year, after obtaining its license, biopharma will be ready to produce in a minimum like 40 million doses per year. This is surely a good news for Indonesia. If we can produce ourselves the vaccine, because if we rely so much on vaccine from Europe or from the US, if it happens, if they can produce it, then they will certainly have their own priority first, and maybe we are going to get our priority later on. So if we can produce ourselves, and the president have been, endorsed the efforts very seriously, that our own company will produce the vaccines, and it will certainly be something good for Indonesia. That's a good news. At least we know that problems is here now with us, but it will go away. So the question is when. So let's see. We'll start coming to the issue of economic here. Let us see the underlying issues then. First, of course, this is a health issue. COVID-19 has created a health crisis with limited health support and also lack of vaccine. This is the situation we are having now. Health issues is there. But then health issues created another issues, which is social, because we are restricted to go out. Social restrictions has slowed down the economic activities, lead to the unemployment and increased poverty. If you are surrounded by people who are not having problem with these restrictions, if you have still you have your salary, still you have your income with you, then you are not having the same problems with others, so many other people who are depending so much on the daily activities. So social problems, social restrictions have slowed down the economy. So then economic performance dropped then, because people have no money. So people will start saving, will stop buying. They will not go to the malls, to the shopping malls. They will not go to restaurants. So economic performance really dropped significantly. And it is also impacted to investment, consumption, export, import, all slow down. This is really the situations that we are having now. But I'm just telling you, this is not only Indonesia. Everyone in the world is having the same thing, except maybe some small countries, But big countries, they're all having the same situations with the economy. And also the fourth thing is in terms of finance. If we are talking about finance, then we are talking about investor confidence. Investor confidence going down, and they are looking to better kind of assets. They flight to quality. They go find US dollar, for example. They go find buying gold, or they go find other assets that is more convincing to them, rather than investing in a country where there are no no trend, no good trend, no positive future of it. So financial sector also, like banking or non-banks, are adversely affected. Their NPL and non-performing loans increase, their capital, their profitability, their solvability really adversely affected. So every sectors are having problems now. This is the so-called underlying issues. If we agree on this, that these underlying issues has created problems, then let's see the other thing then. The result is economic growth is expected to contract in second quarter 2020. If we see the data here, the data in first quarter 2020 were still recording a positive growth by 2.97% of GDP in first quarter 2020. But the economists and everybody, including us, already predict that this sector minus will be contraction. Some other countries already, even Singapore have been contracted like over 40%, and other countries have been really in a bad situations. You see, like in Indonesia, when we see the contractions in economy, we are still seeing the picking up of the confirmed cases of COVID-19. This is the problems. If we are negative now, but the COVID have been over, I think we still have hope that next quarter will be fine. But we are really having or facing the so-called, challenging situations where COVID-19 confirmed cases are still picking up. So we'll see then. We'll see. But then we need to check on this. That the global economic contraction is persisting, and this is also the news that are that is not only in Indonesia. A resurgence, we call it like resurgence of COVID-19 cases in several countries, including US, Brazil, India. I mentioned this earlier. That has contributed to current global dynamics. And we are also seeing that the health protocols increase the pressure on the mobility of economic players, and this has prevented economic activity from returning to normal. We're having problem is because we know what to do. We can produce something, we can demand something, but when we want to buy something, nobody sell it to us. If we want to sell something to people, and nobody buy it from us. So this is not a problem of supply and demand, because both supply and demands are having pressure. So because of this immobility of economic players. The third thing is the such development have reduced the so-called policy effectiveness. We have policy, the government have policy, but then because of this, pressure on the mobility, and this is not only happening in Indonesia, but it happens to all the world, then it reduced the policy effectiveness. And this is really a problem. It's actually including China, but I can tell you a story about China later that they can, cope with it. This is the thing that I mentioned earlier, that even though the pressure because of this COVID are high, but US and China still have a tension themselves. So financial market is there, uncertainty, capital flows impaired, and also they're also amplifying currency pressures. So this is the problems from the global side. This is also giving a special pressure for Indonesia. So when we talk about COVID-19, we are talking about the whole situation, which are really affecting almost every sectors in life. This because of large-scale social restrictions, we are now facing a so-called transitions. But Jakarta keep closing even the extending the period of restriction, and this is also certainly depend on the effectiveness of health protocol. It will affect also the consumer confidence, and this is that I mentioned to you earlier. It affect the supply and demand, and it will go to the GDP that I mentioned earlier. The number is 2.97 in the first quarter of 2020, and it will affected by the other macroeconomic indicator like exchange rate, inflation, financial system stability. And this is only the half part. But if you then have a second wave cases, and it will then create a delayed reopening, and it will also affect the behavior of the people, and it will affect everything, and everything will change. Then people are keep saying about new normal, but they don't actually know what new normal is all about. And we are now dealing with the change of behavior of the people. So what the government, and especially also what Bank Indonesia is doing, is we do give the so-called stimulus and crisis prevention measures. We provide economic policies. So there are fiscal policies, the monetary policies, there are macroprudential policy, there's a microprudential policy, and also increase the payment system to cope with all these problems. And I can discuss with you later if you have any questions on macroprudential and microprudential, and it's also fiscal and monetary policy. What will be the impact to the economy then? We certainly know that the economic growth are going down. There are a lot of layoffs and unemployment increase, and especially it will create poor people, number of poor people increase. Before COVID, this is the data that just to refresh your memory, that before COVID, we are actually projecting the GDP growth for 2020 is 5.3%. the number that is very good. Now, if we are having like growth over 5%, that is also good in the situations. But that is before COVID. But after COVID, if we have a severe situations, our GDP may go to like below 1%. Or if the case is not so severe, then it will go like to 2.3%. It is it depends so much on the way we do and the way we react to the situations. If we do nothing, then it may go to the severe situations. uh, what happened to the poor people then? Poverty will increase by 4.86 million people if the situation is severe, but it may only increase by 1.89 million people. But then we have more people unemployed because of this kind of situation. So, uh, so questions remain then. Is Indonesia still attractive then? So let me discuss with you. If we only stop here, the discussion, if we stop the discussion here, then you end up, listening from me all the negative situation of Indonesia. But I still need to, to be honest with you. The COVID-19 situation is not good. The economy is not good. But then what do we do about it? Then how do we see Indonesia now in this kind of situations? But not only Indonesia, but we need to see Indonesia and other countries in the world. So that's really important. So let's see, like, how is the rupiah now? So I just checked the rupiah by today, maybe around 14,610 per dollar. So this is we are still calling it like undervalue, but then the situation is not really mirroring or explaining the real situations. If we see the fundamental, we might see the rupiah is undervalued. But we also have a very low inflation. Inflation of Indonesia, our projections up until the end of the year, maybe like still in the within the target, which is 3% plus minus 1. And we are also having the current account deficit under 2%. This is understandable because our export shrink and our imports shrink as well. So we're not really giving you a sign of anything because of this current account deficit, but at least having a current account deficit under 2% will give you, especially give the investors understanding that we are not having a pressure from current account. That's the good thing. The other important thing is when I will talk to you about this rate differential. Usually we compare rate differential by comparing the yield of Indonesian global bond. This is Surat Berharga Negara, which is Indonesian global bond, government global bond. The yield for 10-year global bond is around 7%. But then if we compare with the US Treasury notes, 10 years, the yield is around 0.3 to 0.4%. So if you are an investor, you have money now. I asked you the questions whether you are going to buy a US Treasury notes then they give you like only 0.3, 0.4% coupon interest, or you buy an Indonesian government bond and they will give you like 7% in rupiah. So the differential is 6.5% rate differential. Don't you think that people will come to Indonesia and buy government global bond? I think so. That's actually why the position of even the position of our reserve assets stood at like 131 billion US dollar. And I can also share with you that the net inflows in the second quarter 2020 is 10.2 billion US dollar. Meaning what? Meaning that investors are still coming to Indonesia. They invest in Indonesia, especially they invest in what? In here. They invest in government global bond, which can give them a coupon around or a yield around 7%. Maybe now getting less and less as the economy is getting better. If the economy is getting better, the yield of government global bond 10-year will go down. Like now 7%, maybe later around 6.5 or 6%, and they all go down depending on the maturity. That is the situation. So I can say with you, okay, look, Indonesia is still attractive then. You know, if you want to invest your money in US dollar, I mean, you may think that US dollar is safe, but then they will give you only 0.3%. Even if you go to the US now, their interest rate is close to zero now. And if I also say something a bit, harsh, in Europe, if you go to Europe, you buy euro, you may even have to pay because they have a negative interest rate. This is really crazy times then. But if you come to Indonesia, they will give you like 7% yield. So this is the GDP that I mentioned, 2.97, because I'm about to tell you about this GDP. So the GDP for the second quarter, this is second quarter will be I made mistake here. Second quarter will be a contraction. But then the third quarter will rely so much on government spending. So we can do something about it. Okay. Okay. Now we see, if we see like Bank Indonesia policy, I'm telling you a story then. According to our research, our findings, rupiah exchange rate stabilization policy need to be imposed here against a backdrop of persistent global financial market uncertainty. So we have uncertainty out there. We never know what happened. I can, tell you later. We have a slides to tell you about this uncertainty. But then what we should do now is to give you a stability policy related to the rupiah exchange rate. That is one thing. Second thing is the strengthening. Synergized expansive monetary policy response with accelerated fiscal stimuli from the government. So later we can also learn from China. This is one of the strength in China, because they have a and synergized monetary policy and fiscal policy. So this is what Bank Indonesia is doing. If we say like the government should finance the need of poor people and the need of to help the small and medium enterprises to move the economy, government needs money, and we cannot rely so much on government loan by using the so-called government bond. So Bank Indonesia step in by purchasing the global bond to finance the budget of healthcare. This is not supposed to be the work and the task of the central bank. But I'm telling you, this is the situations that are needed for the central bank to step in, just like any other central banks in the world. So they are actually stepping in, the so-called quantitative easings they do. They provide the liquidity to the government, and they even help to buy the government bond to finance the healthcare, social protection, sectoral, also government ministries and agency, as well as local government. And Bank Indonesia also sharing the burden. This is the term that is quite well known these days. People are talking all about the burden sharing between Bank Indonesia and the government. So this is actually the thing that I mentioned about the synergized expansive monetary policy and also accelerated fiscal stimuli. So that is the second thing. The third thing is policy coordination with the government to maintain macroeconomic and financial stability. So stability is still the key here. So, but policy coordination is very much important. But then Bank Indonesia also expediting the payment system digitalization. You may ask the questions about this later, but I'm telling you that the payment system digitalization is really the answer of the questions, because people are not going out, they are not paying with cash anymore. They are reluctant to even touch the money. And so this payment system digitalizations is the so-called the new normal for Indonesia. I need to check my watch. Ibu Elma can also tell me if I need to stop then.
Okay, but still, we're still good with time for time.
Okay, thank you. So let's discuss about the economy in the second quarter, because when we have a 2.97% GDP growth, we found out that the impact of COVID in March had been worse than expected. We thought at the time that March will not be yet impacted, but in fact it is severely impacted. So the GDP growth that was actually at that time projected to be like 4.3%, and then it went down to 2.97% in the first quarter of 2020. So it then resulted to sharp decline of income, production, consumption, investment, export, and import. So I again made the mistake here. It should be like first quarter. So let's see other countries. So if we can then later discuss about the second quarter, but now the first quarter, we're seeing like other countries' GDP, like China, first quarter contraction minus 6.8% compared to the previous quarter, they recorded like 6% growth. The US only recorded 0.3%, while the previous quarter, they recorded like 2.3%. Europe severely affected by minus 3.3%. And this is interesting to see Singapore minus 2.2% and South Korea 1.3% is the biggest decline since 2008. But I am also delighted to share with you about Singapore maybe. Singapore, the analyst from OCBC said that this is the worst GDP year-on-year contraction since first quarter 2009 and the largest quarter-on-quarter slippage since third quarter 2010. This is interesting. They even say like this is also the first time we see contractions in all three key sectors, manufacturing, services, and constructions since the third quarter of 1998 during the ASEAN financial crisis. So we're not alone. Even we still recorded like positive in first quarter, but other countries are really having a big problem, even bigger problems. But then if we go like now, we're talking about the second quarter now. National economic growth is expected to contract in the second quarter of 2020, and the lowest level will be in May. The May 2020 will be the lowest level of our economy. Contraction in April, May 2020 due to the impact of large-scale social restrictions. The so-called PSBB is the big problems for the country. And then I'm proud to show you the latest development that in June 2020, it shows you the early signs of economic recovery. In line, of course, in line with the gradual easing of large-scale social restriction. So if we see that, then there's no way to help the economy but start gradual easing of this large-scale social restrictions, because otherwise people will stay at home and they reluctant to buy anything. They're reluctant to meet people. They will not spend anything, and the economy will stuck then. That's the situation. And this is the, I'm sorry about this is Bahasa, but then the cost from the government to deal with COVID-19 is, the number is 695.2 trillion rupiah. This is a big amount. And the government will provide 87 trillion for health. This is health. And also for social protections, 203.9 trillion. And for helping the sectoral ministries and also the regional government, 106. Also helping the small and medium enterprises, 123.46 trillion. And also helping financing the big, medium and big corporations, around 53.57 trillion, and also giving a business incentive. So if you see this, you are seeing that the government is, providing helps to the small and medium enterprises. They provide helps to corporations. They give incentive to the business sector. Why? Because they are the one who can make the economy going, and then it will then reduce the unemployment, and it will also help the economy. That is the reason behind the cost that is provided by the government to help with this COVID issues. And this is also the interest subsidy. The interest subsidy given by the government to help the small and medium enterprises that has credit with the banking sectors, also rural bank, and also there are some agent that helps the small and medium enterprise, and they are also doing something with the poor people, with the farmers and anything. So the number is quite extensive. Okay, I will start making a little bit quick here, but just want to share with you that this people are trying to make a kind of projections, but IMF made a lot of mistakes in here. But I think I can show you this. This is JP Morgan. This is Economic Intelligence Unit. This is Fitch Rating and IMF. They're all start to make a kind of forecast. I'm saying this uncertainty because look at this. JP Morgan predicted in 2020 will be minus at 1.1%, while Economic Intelligence Unit said it's like minus 2.2%, Fitch minus 1.9%, while the IMF minus 3%. The number are, difference are too high for the economists who are doing this forecast. Usually they saying like 1.1 to 1.2 or 1.15, something like that. The difference is very small. This one, the difference is too high, meaning that they actually don't know what they do. They don't know what they forecast. They really don't know. Even if you see here, I'm amazed to see like IMF made a really big mistakes, and I think they're making a correction now because they're saying that Indonesia in 2020 growth will be 0.5%, but in 2021 economic growth will be 8.2%. Well, this is really a good news if it is happening, but then I think it's not happening. This is the number that I mentioned earlier, in Indonesia. Then they are projecting other countries as well, and all the countries are having a very good economic growth in 2021, given the 2022 number are really, really small. So that is the situation, but it is actually not correct because I think they're making a correction now because the situation is actually not like that. This is just to make make it complicated because this is actually complicated. If you're seeing this problems is simple, I'm saying you that this is not simple. This is complicated. It affected almost everything. It's not only household like ourselves. It also affect government. It affects the business, even the financial sectors, and it is not happening only in Indonesia, but it's happening in the rest of the world. So what do we do then? I think we are entering a new paradigm, the so-called go digital. I'm just asking you to just ponder this, think it over, like, because after COVID-19, lifestyle and its paradigm will change in almost every sector. There's family, work, consumption, production, marketing, meetings, even all the religious activities will also be changed. Needs of innovative human resources, for example, unemployment increase in transition period. So even if we are finding a new normal, we're still having an unemployment increase because this is a transition, because people need to learn something to try to be agile. And then people need to be agile because they're crushed if they late to adjust. Okay, I'm about to tell you about China. This is very important. If I'm asking you later to be innovative, and I'm telling you the story about China. China's second quarter GDP growth recovers to 3.2%. 3.2%. Most of the economists are saying that their growth will about only 1%, but they grew much more than that. It's 3.2%. So why? Why? Because look at this picture here. They increased really a lot after first quarter, only minus 6.8%. But the key is that they are having here successful epidemic control. If Indonesia want to be good in success, I think we have to deal with the so-called control in this epidemic. And also their orderly resumption of work and production and supportive government policies. Because this is according to Research Institute. And Nomura also said that China, they actually surged in medical product export. COVID even gave China something very positive. Because of COVID, then China produced a lot of, health support production, and they exported. And if you check the data of why the growth of China become 3.2%, one of the answer is that they are really doing good things about exporting medical product. And government has done also a really good job in giving a stimulus, and also, because the economy of China also growing, and demand for goods in China also increase. So this is really good. So if China can do that, why don't we? We need to also do something to see our potentials and do the good thing with our potential. Maybe later we cannot expect much from international community. We need to do something with this. So let's learn from China then. The excellent cooperation between fiscal and monetary authority, successful epidemic control, and also able to see the opportunity. The opportunity is exporting COVID-related products as health products, like thermogun, APD, laptop, gaming console. This is really interesting to see the export the gaming console increase, because people, they stay at home. When they stay at home, they use their laptop, they use the, they start playing games. And then it's interesting then. COVID become an opportunity. Okay, let's see again Indonesia now. This is because we are going to discuss about the optimism and innovations. Let's see, like, these sectors are potentially lost. Financial sectors, education, manufacturing, construction, tourism, automotive, maritime. They're actually potentially lost sectors. But if we talk about these potentially lost sectors, we then need to think about it. If we leave it like that, I think we're really losing a lot. But then if we see like education sector, for example, Are we seeing that education sectors, I think Sinarmas World Academy also facing problems with this because of the COVID. So what do you do about it? How do you cope with this kind of problems? And then this has to come with a solution. Manufacturing as well, construction. I got an information from a friend that the rental building rental business are in big trouble. Some of the big companies who are renting big spaces in office, they are now reducing it. They're reducing the number of workers working in the office because some of them, even most of them, working at home. Then they don't need a big they reduce it. So business in rental building offices are really having problems here. So they need to adjust. They need to do something about it. Tourism, for example, nobody wants to go out now. Let's see, if you are from America, and why on earth you go like 20 hours from the US to Indonesia to Bali with the risk of having COVID. So they are now reluctant to go to Indonesia. They're reluctant to go overseas. They tend to just go around their cities. And then Indonesia tourism will be more like domestic tourists later. Bali will be more Indonesian people there in Bali rather than maybe foreign tourists, unless we have found the way to cope with this frightening people going out of their countries. I also watched the ad about going to Dubai, and so they the flight there, so only 50% people's passengers in the plane, and when they enter the hotel, they knew the hotel are sanitized, and then also some of the area are secured. So how to make people secured when they go for traveling, for recreation, things like that. Automotive industry is also minus. So these kind of sectors that we need to find a way. We can never lose it. We can never give it up, but we have to find a way. How about the potentially benefited sectors like medicine, 1.7% share, food processing, health services, trade, especially non-automotive, and information and communication. We're doing it. We're having it now with Zoom, right? And also agriculture. Agriculture is the sectors that are not really affected because people need not to be in one places together. So this is a potentially benefited sector. So if we see this, I agree with my colleague. My colleague once becomes one of the marketing directors in a big hotels in Jakarta. But then yesterday he told me that he was not in the hotel business anymore. He is now marketing for health products. So they are seeing this is the way, because hotel business has no hope. They may be layoffs and things like that, but then they have to find a way to see the new sectors that are promising. So we see like the digital. I'm telling you that in Indonesia now, if we in the health sectors, it's all digitalized now. If I'm telling you that the new normal will be digital life, then this is the life that is happening. It's health sectors. We'll see like education will also be digitalized. We can see the examples of Ruang Guru, for example, and the market size is still big in Indonesia. I think you are mostly in education sector. You know better than me about it. And then annual fee will be a bit, it will go down because you don't need big schools maybe. but then expenditure in the technology will be higher. So we may want to end up like invest more in technology rather than buildings now. Consumptions, we can easily buy online everything. You see, even you can market the car. I don't know whether people wants to buy car by only seeing the marketing through YouTube, for example. But maybe you can understand cars better through YouTube than rather than seeing itself. If you see the car yourself, you may you may be interested because of the model, because of the real touch. But then you don't know actually incomplete the content actually of the car. So maybe this marketing is better. Transportation and cargo, we can even if you transport a cargo, you will know where the cargo is now, so you can track it. It's really amazing right now, the digital situation. But then if you see like how about rural area are left behind. No, you see like here the rural area, the internet penetration 2017, 2018, then it will go up to 2019 and 2020. The internet penetration is in an increasing trend. So I think if you are asking me whether the rural area are having problems with the internet access, it is yes now, but later the government will provide more priority budget for increasing internet. I just watched in TV yesterday that the schools in a rural area in East Java, they are all provided internet access to study. For the they are even given a laptop in schools they can access easily. So our time in education is changing now. So I think crisis moments create opportunities. So we need to anticipate adjustment in consumption, adjustment in production, adjustment in working lifestyle, adjustment in I really want to discuss, a little bit details on this, that the consumption is different, the way we produce things is different, our working lifestyle is different. Now, I mean, I don't know, some of you may experiencing now that working lifestyle, because now in a clerical level or in the middle below level, they may not have a table now. They may have not, a space now. They're putting in a one big space where there are tables there. You can sit wherever you are. You can sit in the left now and the right tomorrow, where in your wherever you like, and maybe you are given a kind of a locker and at the corner of the room so that you can store your things there. But then working lifestyle is different. Maybe you don't need to go to the office. Maybe you can work at the Starbucks, for example, or the coffee shops. And that's why coffee shops are now growing really massively. So investment will also be different. They will not invest anymore in, let's say, building big buildings. So they may invest more in technology right now. So that is the thing that I also want to stop here. I'm incidentally or intentionally put this with you, because I think in this time we are thinking of I mean the problem is too heavy for us. Sometimes we think that we cannot solve it ourselves. So people are more religious now. They trust God. They start praying right now. So I think this is also the time for us to ponder what to do, because actually we need to be able to cope with it. And then, okay, trust God and wash your hands. And I think I stop here and see if we can have a question and answer after. Back to you, Miss Alma.
Thank you very much, Pak Peter. Very informative presentation. We've got questions coming in. It's a very informative presentation, and our students are saying that it's a very good economics course, listening to what you've got to say. So thank you very much for that. It's very insightful to hear the views, the central bank's views of the Indonesian economy and where we are and where we're heading. There's definitely quite a lot there that we can talk about. So we can maybe start with, you mentioned about the synergistic efforts by BI on the monetary side, on the monetary policy side, and then the government in the fiscal side with the stimulus packages to revive the economy. Because there's the limited capability of the monetary policy to sort of generate or to accelerate the recovery of the economy. I guess the reliance is more on the fiscal, on the government, on the fiscal policy. And there has been talks about how the realization of the government spending is still, still can be better, with the mention of the slow absorption of the ministry's budgets and things like that. What do you think about do you think it will be the government can optimally utilize the fiscal tools that they have? So how do you think, because you talked about effectiveness of policies as well, right? Will this have an impact on the effectiveness of the packages or the efforts launched by synergistically by BI and the government?
Okay, thank you. Interesting, because if we talk about the economy, transaction, economic activities, this is the fiscal side. This is not a monetary side. Monetary side is more about stability. We have low and stable inflation. We have enough reserve, for example. We could also have a low current account deficit, things like that. All the things that are related to the stability. But then, if we talk about promoting growth, then it is in a part of fiscal policy. In the normal situations, the private sectors plays a very big role on it. But in certain situations like this, where private sectors will be all reluctant to invest, they're reluctant even to get credit, they're reluctant to produce because they don't know where to sell it, then private sectors will be the sectors that are now stuck and stop. Right. This create the economy to go down. So in times like this, there is no other way but the government step in. The government step in with the fiscal measures. They give more stimulus. They give more like incentive in terms of taxes, for example. They help poor people. They give more money to the regional province, for example, so that the economy can grow. Because and then government investment will also be increased, because otherwise the economy will stop. Sometimes in a situation like that, then only the government will step in, because otherwise it's not. But then we see that the government is not really luxurious. We have other countries like Singapore, maybe the US, maybe China. They have a lot of money. They don't even need the injection from the central banks, but then they can finance the economy themselves. Even I heard from a friend in Singapore, some of the company, they're given an incentive to top up the salary, because they may cut the salary of their employees by 50%, but the other 50% will be top up by the government. So government has quite enough resources for that. But then I've heard also some of the companies saying that, look, I don't need your help, government. You go help other companies who have bigger problems. That is good. I think it's not happening in Indonesia. But then I see like the government is the one who is responsible to move the economy, upward. But then there are times where the government has a limitation. If they borrow more money and then their loan ratio increase, it may not be good for the rating agency, for the investors' confidence on Indonesia. If you go to school and you have a very bad report, then you're not good enough if you have a bad report. And the Indonesian need to have a still good report for investors to come to Indonesia, for creditors still extend their credit to Indonesia, and then for investors to come and then do business in Indonesia, to buy things from Indonesia and things like that. So we have to have a good report. But if the government increase their loan and it is above the tolerable level, and it may not be good, then it may also create problems for the future generations to pay it back then. So what we could do is actually the central bank step in then. The central bank is not supposed to be doing this, but in times of difficulties, central bank can step in. So what we in Bank Indonesia did is actually we buy the government bonds in the primary market. We also help the secondary market of government bonds to create a very good market practices. We end up also helping share the burden of the government so that the government can borrow, but then the interest, the coupon, bear by Bank Indonesia. That's the things that we are actually doing to help the government. So basically, Fiscal is the one who is actually responsible for this, but then central bank, who is supposed to maintain stability, but then end up also step in to help the government. Then this actually cooperation is very good. People from outside will see that this cooperation between monetary policy and fiscal policy is really good in Indonesia, and then they are really comfortable to come to Indonesia. And then this is actually one of the key, if I may say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Another thing is, you mentioned about transition period, and that's, I guess, where the economy has started to recover, but it's not fully at the level of that we were expecting before. And during that period, maybe we go through, we will go through a period of consolidation where companies are, restructuring, or some companies are changing their model, and maybe there's also a question about non-performing loans. There's an increase of that. You also mentioned that. And while this is going on, we need the banking system to be very strong, right? And what is your take on the current state of our banking system? So is it strong enough to handle all of that?
Oh, okay, this is also interesting. Thank you for asking this question. So, NPL increase, that is actually because companies stop working, they stop producing, they stop selling, they don't get any income, therefore they cannot and that is a normal situation. So what we do actually, especially the financial authority are doing, is to adjust the regulations regarding the NPL and giving a kind of a space for the banks to do a restructuring. So in the past, restructuring is all about companies who are having a bad decision, companies who are having bad investment or non really good governance inside the company, so they're having difficulties in their business, so they cannot repay back the loan. So banks will give them restructuring policy, but it's more because of the insolvent of the companies. But now the restructuring policy is because of the COVID, because of the stop of business transactions in the company. So what they do is actually like delaying the payment of interest, for example, for 1 year or for 6 months. But then they will still need to repay the loan itself. So basically, banks will have problems in their profit then. In their liquidity, sometimes they don't have liquidity, while banks have also the obligation to fulfill the liquidity from the market. So the government need to step in with this. Therefore, in my slides, I mentioned about the like interest subsidy from the government. And also the regulation is a little bit, adjusted to accommodate the restructuring process, so that at least because of the COVID, we can just hold the moment. Hopefully, after the third quarter of this year, then we can start growing. We can start, do another transactions. If we can do this, then we can leave all the problems behind and then look forward to see something good in the future. That's what we could do then. So I'm telling you that the bank conditions, some of the banks are still even very, very good conditions. Some are having a liquidity problem, but this is liquidity problems, not is actually a solvency problems. There might be end up to be like solvency problems, but the government need to step in, then need to do and to adjust and everything to help. Sometimes if they're not good enough, then the authority can also initiate the merger, for example, initiate the other bigger banks and do some to help the smaller banks and other healthier banks to help the non-sound banks and things like that. Then it can be actually be done. But most of the banks, especially the so-called big banks and important banks, systemic banks, are still in a good situation now.
Thank you. We had a follow-up question from Diva, a SWA student, but I think you've touched on what she was going to ask. So hopefully, Diva, that answered your question. Another question is related to Indonesia's debt burden. So we know that the country has had to borrow a lot more to fund all these stimuli that they're launching to revive the economy, and the worry is that it's going to be quite burdensome for us, especially with the high interest rates, as you said. So what is your take on that? So what do you think about the current debt burden of Indonesia? And that's from a teacher at SWA as well, from our economics and business teachers, Ms. Renu and Mr. Alex.
Okay, about that burden. Yes, it is because of the need to finance. I mentioned earlier in my slides that the government need to finance around 397 trillion to help with the health issues, and another 177 trillion to help with the small and medium enterprise and also corporation. So we need the money on top of the current budget of the government. So what the government need to do is actually issue another government bond. But in this case, some are bought directly from the primary market by Bank Indonesia. Some are then sold in the market. So basically, this is a need to do. Therefore, the ratio, the loan to actually the debt to GDP ratio of the government increased to 37% now, from previously only around 30%. So the ratio increased quite steeply, but that is understandable. And as long as the government can manage the debt soundly by looking at the maturity, looking at the type of loan. Sometimes they issue the government bond. Sometimes they issue the Sharia bonds. They do like they need like a private placement type of things, things like that. I mean, they do a lot of things to see that the debt burden is managed well, but then we cannot really avoid the possibility of having a higher debt burden for the future. Government once borrow a global bond for 30 years, for example. So it's just actually spread it in a long tenor, which is needed for the government, because otherwise they will stuck in one period of time where we have to pay a lot and we cannot pay, then it will create even a bigger problem. So they did manage well the debt burden. So up until now, 36%, 37% debt to GDP ratio is considered still sound. If you compare to US or Japan, they are over 100% debt to GDP ratio. So we're still in I think in good hands, and we have to be able to generate the economy as soon as possible, so that the tax income will increase, then the government can serve the debt properly. I think that's the comment on the debt.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Mr. Andrew. Actually, there are two. We'll start with maybe the second one. So do you know of other incentives that will be launched to, further incentives that will be launched to help the economy? And Mr. Andrew is talking especially about within the transportation industry. So do you know any other sectoral sort of help from the government coming soon?
Yeah, now the government is actually trying to help from the banking side, from the the creditor side. So we make the banks healthy first. We make the banks able to lend money. We make the banks can do something to give credits to the industry. That is very very much important. Therefore, I thank Ms. Elma for these questions, because if then the banks are ready to give credits, if banks are really ready to move, then we need the company. Then we need the individual or company corporations to start doing business now. This is very important, because otherwise, if the banks have money but they don't know where to lend the money to, it's create problems. Therefore, together with the government, together with the banking industries, I just want to urge you people, because I know here there are a lot of people coming from business sectors, maybe from companies producing things like that. we need to we need to you to do something to start doing business. This is very important because look at China then. Look at China. China is actually start producing more healthcare or medical stuff, and they are not doing it for their own purpose, their own needs, but they also export it to other countries. Rather than we import it, I think we need to start thinking of making it ourselves for our own needs. Let's see another example to see about let's say tourism industry, for example. You know, we cannot expect the international tourists to come. So what we can do actually to just promote the health protocol properly and invite people to come then. So it's actually not right to just let people to don't go anywhere, stay at home. So it's actually not helping in terms of the economy. But if you urge people, you advise people to go, then you protect them with the protocol and everything. So economy should be going. The government can only do like provide the money, provide the liquidity, provide all the licensing, for example, all the facility and everything is there. But it's then up to the business sectors to start doing their business, because otherwise it will stuck there. And I think it's good to see how China is doing. And now other countries like Italy is also increasing their economic activities because they are very, very disciplined in their protocol of health protocol. We have to do the same thing. We have to be very careful in our protocol, but then we start business. I like the terms when they the like a movement of wearing maskers, for example. You wear masker if you are outside, of course. If you're at home, you don't wear masker, right? Then masker wear outside the house. Then what we need to do is actually it's actually advising people to just go out, do your activities, do your economic transactions, but use tightly the COVID protocol, the health protocol. If my sound is correct, or because it looks like my signal is unstable. It's still okay, right?
We can hear you fine. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So to follow up on what you said, then does that mean that you don't see any? So during the consolidation period, you don't see a time when banks are reluctant to give out loans. So because of this sort of encouragement from the government to lend to businesses.
I'm not saying that, because I know some of the banks, like let's pick up like the one of the state-owned banks, big one. They're still extending quite extensive loan to small and medium enterprises, for example. But now I think if you are from the banking sector, I think you know that it is not easy to find healthy corporations that can do business right now. So I'm sure it will be more stringent now, more careful, more things are need to be taken care, because otherwise it will be difficult for banks to extend credit. So it is certainly not as business as usual. It'll be like tougher, maybe. It will be like more documents needed, more even more courage from the bank to do that. But that is actually to do that. But what I'm trying to say is, for the company, for the corporations to start finding the way to deal with this economic. You cannot do business just with what you usually do. You have to find a way. You have to show to the banks, to the creditors, that you you know how to cope with this kind of problems. You have the digital way of doing business. You have to you find the solution of the business. This is very important because otherwise you just go to the banks and asking credit and in the usual way, it won't work then. That's this is the thing that I'm thinking.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobs. So we have another question about Singapore, the fact that it's already in, the country is already in recession, from Yanis. What's your view, now that Singapore is already going into recession, what's your view on Indonesia's economic condition? So considering what happened in Singapore. So how's your view on sort of the Asian economies?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Let me have like 10 seconds. Just I'll come back in 10 seconds.
Sure. So many questions coming in. Hopefully we're trying our best to answer, to get to all of them, but if we don't get to your particular one, hopefully you will, even then, hopefully Dr. Jacobs have touched upon some of the aspects of what you're asking. So we're trying. Thank you, Pak Peter.
Yeah.
Silakan. Go ahead.
Okay. This is about, you compare Indonesia and Singapore, for example. Singapore is in recessions, but they are having a different situation. Technically recessions, meaning that you're having a negative growth for consecutive quarter, consecutive months. You are having technically recessions that are, people are saying this. But what I'm trying to say is in the second quarter we may have a negative growth, which is also showing you a sign. But the third quarter, this is really important. Third quarter have passed, like this is July already. We have 2 months to go, like August and September. What the government is trying to do, what the president insists to do, is actually to see that the government spending increase extensively. Mm-hmm. This is for August and September, at least, and the later part of July. This is very important because if the government can do something to move the economy growing, then it will also affect the other sectors, like construction sectors, for example, or the business sectors, consumption sectors, or other type of investment sectors related with the government, spending will also be growing. If they're growing, they're also affecting other sectors growing. So this is very much important. That's why if you notice, a few weeks back, you've heard the news that the president was so angry to see that the money are not really well spent by the ministries. That is the problem. What we need to do to see is all the ministries in Jakarta and also in other cities, they are start spending, they start doing their business, they start spending, they start their activities, so that the other sectors related will be impacted. That's the only thing to do. And I'm again using this opportunity to ask you, as a businessman or as people who are dealing with these situations, to start thinking of doing something then. Not waiting until the COVID problems over. No, that is not the way, because COVID may never go away. That's the World Health Organization said. So they will never go away. So we have to live with it. We have to live with it. We have to be able to find a way to do business in the current situations. Don't you ever expect the situation will go back to normal before COVID. It will never happen. We will have a new normal. So we have to find a way to do business, to start transactions, to like China can grow by 3.2%. Singapore is actually having the same problems. They are, because Singapore's international trade is really depending so much on other countries. If other countries are still in problems, Singapore will certainly be staying in the situation which is contractions. So they have to find a way now. But domestically, they're actually not so problem. Domestically, they move, they do the COVID protocol very stringently, and then I mean their economy domestically is okay, but their economy is still depending so much on international trade. That is the problem.
Okay, thank you. So as you said, we need to also find, despite the many challenges and the difficult things that are going on, we also need to find opportunities during this pandemic. And you also mentioned that we also have changed our lifestyles, and that has triggered a lot of businesses or organizations to think of new ways of doing things. And what's come out of that is also the intense innovation activity in terms of delivering their products or services, or in terms of policy, or in terms of structure to be able to speed things up. And you also mentioned about digitalization of the payment systems, which is one of those innovations that can help with the new lifestyle, or with the new model that we have. In what ways is the central bank, or is Bank Indonesia expediting the digitalization of the payment systems?
Yeah, thank you. Digitalization is actually the things that we have already started even before COVID. I remember we introduced the CRIS QR system just before the COVID. Even when the COVID increased, we still had events where we do the socialization of QR Indonesian standard across the country, and it's actually accepted anywhere. That's what Bank Indonesia is trying to do, to make this society even kind of less cash society. We cannot avoid like cash 100%, but we can make it like less cash society. That actually is done well. Now digitalization is very much important now. The business is growing, like we have all the startup increased drastically everywhere. So people are now start buying, start shopping, start do business with all this. I mentioned also some of in my slides. It's related all about almost every sectors now. Even I urge you now, if you have a business now that are not really digitalized, you have to start thinking about it, because otherwise you are left behind, and even you can be crushed because of that. So this is very important. And you know what? If we are talking about digital, it seems like there is no limit on that. It's there is no limit. If you find a very complicated and also advanced technology, it will be obsolete not so long after this. So this is really interesting. Once we are now having a very good and advanced technology, it will be another better and more advanced technology in the future. So our life will be more agile now. We have to adjust with so many changes in our life. So I mean, this is about digitalization. It is something that is keeps changing, keeps advancing. You have to come into that. Then if you are thinking, if you are parents now, you have children, you have to let them more digitalized. Sometimes parents ask the children not to play games, for example, and then they don't want to buy them laptop or handphone that is full of games, for example. About it now, because I think we have to make our children more digitalized now, not but it's certainly to be more responsible with that. But digital is something really is a need right now to have a new normal. I even can say, like, the new normal is the digital way. It's if you're not digital, you're not ready for the new normal.
The one thing that's definitely increased during this pandemic is like online transactions, right? And we use our phone to pay for our shopping and all of those things. And it's being used by, adults, by parents, by children, by students, by so many people in their sort of daily life. But despite the convenience of sort of e-payments, online payments, there are also worries in terms of security and data privacy and things like that. So what can you say about the regulations that we have in place now in terms of protecting consumer from those things?
Yeah, it is always, we have two sides of the coin. Of course, in one side we have to motivate, we have to push the business sectors to more digitalized, to more advanced, to do all the things faster, cheaper, safer, things like that. I mean, we have to, in one side, do that. But on the other side, it is also common for a regulator to be left behind. People are more advanced. They find a way to cheat in some ways. So we have to come with the proper regulations to protect the customers. So that's the way that's I mentioned, two sides of the coin, because it's very much important. Therefore, as for the human resources, for example, we cannot have like ordinary persons working in a regulator side that cannot be able to chase the speed of the advanced digitalized world. So we need to be able to have people who are really, really, really good. That's what we are doing in Bank Indonesia. Human resources development is something very much important here to cope with all this, the need to chase the advance of this digital world. But at the same time, we need to check the other countries if they have technology and everything. Now they are actually selling. If you ever know the COTS, for example, that you can buy the technology on the shelf. We can actually buy that and then use it, and then that's what we are actually doing, even though we have to adjust here and there. But then technology is very much needed now. So still, as I mentioned earlier, the two sides of the coins.
Thank you. We're almost at the end of our time, so we'll start wrapping up. We still have a few things to do, and I would like to ask our audience to please stay until the end for a photo op. I think what I'd like to do now is to ask Pak Peter to conclude for us what your message would like to be in terms of how we navigate ourselves during this pandemic.
Okay, again, I thank you for this opportunity, but then I realized that the situation for most of the people, including the government, including the Bank Indonesia, these situations that we are facing now is not an easy situation. It is not actually I might say it's not really good to be in these situations, because we have to work hard, we have to think hard, we have to think very smart to deal with all these problems. But then I realized that the pressure, the problems that we are facing right now is very much important for us to make us stronger. This is really important for us to see that a country like Indonesia, it's like if you have a computer or a handphone, then you do a reset setting. This is actually the time to reset setting everything and start thinking over about all the things, all the preparations, all the habits that we are having now. I think the government need to change the way they do their business up until now. We have to uh, to work so quickly, as you mentioned about the omnibus law, for example. This omnibus law is the thing that we have to do when we want to go faster. This is very important. Um, so actually, we change the way we think. We change the way we do our business. We change the way we do our job. Everything is changed now. It's all digital. It's all faster now. It's all consumer oriented, for example. It's not like in the past where the government is actually being served. Now the government has nothing else but to serve the people. So that's from our side. But from your side, from the people's side, you have to start thinking of okay, running with the government, running to to start to do business, but not for your own sake, but for the people. This is very much important, especially as you are in an education business. You have young people here. Try to educate young people not to be rich, not to be successful for their own sake, but try to teach the young people to think about other people, to think about serving people, to think about making the good for everybody, not for only for ourselves. This is really important, because these days we're not living only for ourselves. These days we're living together with like borderless. Globalization is already left behind, but we have to think about ourselves, and we have to think also about helping others about it. Then this is very, very much important. And I think if that is the case, then our life becomes very, very exciting, and I'm happy to be here now. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to lead to that. I was to ask you about for your sort of message to our SWA students, because SWA is in Sinar Mas World Academy, because here at the school we encourage students to think innovatively, as we saw at the beginning of the program. We have students coming up with very new ideas that aim to help others, and that's why they won the MYP Innovators Awards. And I think that the message that you've just said resonates very nicely with our students. And we also have questions from our teachers, which are in line with that. How about the importance of education in this changing world, in this in the times when we need to be creative, to think outside the box, and the skills that the students need in order to thrive in that kind of environment.
Yeah, I want to say one thing that that we've seen in our office in Bank Indonesia. We we receive many young people, and it is amazing to see that these young people are so talented. They even can do much bigger things than we expect. When we ask them to do something, they can even give you more than than you expect. They can even imagine many things that we in the past cannot do. So I think young people need to be given more space, more creative way of doing whatever they want to do. This is not the way I think teachers tell them what to do. If if they want to be very good in the future, then they need to be given more space to think, to be creative. That's a school can do now. It's even easier easier to do to teach the children like that. So don't bring your feelings mixed with this. But what I'm trying to say is, if I see young people in my office, I will give them more opportunity to think and to express their feelings, their ideas, and everything. Oh, that's really amazing. So I hope SWA can also produce or even let the children grow, because their potential is really unlimited. So they can do a lot of good things, and the schools can play a very big role in it, especially in times of new normal like this, digital like this, and we cannot really imagine what they can actually do in the future. So that's my encouragement to them.
Thank you. So that was a question from Mr. Chris Hayden. Dr. Jacob or Pak Peter, thank you so much for an enlightening presentation and for useful guidelines that you've given us on how to navigate ourselves in surviving this, the economical impact of this pandemic that we're all experiencing. And we appreciate your time, and definitely we appreciate your excitement in spreading this message of optimism. And when we spoke before the event, you said that the ideal outcome of this would be for the participants to go away with increased motivation in doing their contribution to revive the economy. And I think from your talks, you've definitely of tools for that, a lot of ammunition. So we owe you a special vote of thanks thank you for being here. And we've got a token of appreciation, which we'll get to you. This is not virtual. This is, we actually have this. So if I can read what it says here, it's a token of appreciation presented to Dr. Peter Jacob in humble gratitude for his presentation to Sinarmas World Academy on the 24th of July, 2020, Surviving COVID-19 Business Innovations. And this will get to you very soon, Dr. Jacobs.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you. And to our audience, please, again, stay for a photo op. Are we doing that now? Okay. So we are, before we end, we are going to, I'm just going to follow cues. Open your cameras, and we want to take the best possible picture of everyone. It's not going to be for long. It's just going to be for a few seconds. Thank you. Do we have more? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for your participation and tenacity in spending your Friday evening with us. We definitely appreciate your time. So thank you to Dr. Jacobs again, and thank you to all the participants tonight. And that's it from us. So we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Elma. Thank you, everybody.
There's a golden light deep within our hearts, shining pure and bright, waiting to arise. Every day we strive, chasing our dreams, learning to embrace what tomorrow brings. Like those little shining stars, together we can grow, reaching everyone around our lives. Let's shine our light. So we sing and we dance, lend a hand in every chance, bringing love in a joyous harmony. Now we know that this life is a journey to reach our destiny. Starting at Sinar Mas World Academy.
Welcome to our home. The home of learning and achievement.
The home of friendship.
The home of creativity and innovation.
The home of culture.
The home of compassion.
We are the future, and this is our home.
Welcome to our home. The home of learning and achievement.
The home of friendship.
The home of creativity and innovation.
The home of culture.
The home of compassion.
We are the future, and this is our home.
There's a golden light deep within our hearts, shining pure and bright, waiting to arise.
Every day we strive, chasing our dreams, learning to embrace what tomorrow brings.
Like those little shining stars, together we can glow, reaching everyone around our lives. Let's shine our light.
So we sing and we dance, lend a hand in every chance, bringing love in a joyous harmony. Now we know that this life is a journey to reach our destiny, starting at Sinarmas World Academy.
Taking every mile, making every choice, knowing it will shape the sounding of our voice. Like a tree inside a seed, one day it will grow, for our future lies within our souls. Let's shine a light.
So we sing and we dance, lend a hand in every chance, bringing love in a joyous harmony. Now we know that this life is a shining pure and bright, waiting to arise.
Every day we strive, chasing our dreams, learning to embrace what tomorrow brings.
Like those little